Hello and welcome to the Success Showcase. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin from the Modern Observer Group. And with me, as always, is Chip Janiszewski from the Happiness and Success GPS. Chip, how you doing this week?
Doing great. How are you, Eric?
Fantastic.
Happy
We're
birthday.
Thank you. We are coming to the end of unofficial summer as we approach Labor Day. So people are coming back from vacations, starting to get back into the swing of things with work.
Schools.
Schools are starting. Schools are actually both starting and ending in certain cases. I know a couple of universities, Notre Dame, University of North Carolina, who have already opened and closed, sent everybody home and said, we're doing this virtually.
Yeah. This is a strange year that we're going to look back on for a long, long time. So
it really is. There's an ancient Chinese curse that says, may you live in interesting times. And I think that applies right now. We certainly live in interesting times.
Without a doubt.
So today we're going to talk about marketing because, we talk a lot about the basics of business and getting things done. But the fact of the matter is, you can get as much as you want done. If people don't know about it, they're not going to buy your product or service. Unfortunately, it's not if you build it, they will come. You actually have to let people know that you're out there, what you're doing. So we're going to talk about, making some noise today, getting the word out and letting people know what you do. And marketing covers a whole gamut of topics. There's word of mouth marketing and networking. There's social media marketing. There's traditional advertising. And part of the trick is to know where your audience is and how to reach them. And of course, these are different types of marketing. Traditional advertising is what we call outbound marketing, which is you are actively trying to reach your target audience. Social media and word of mouth marketing and networking are more inbound marketing. This is you're letting people know what your expertise is. You're letting people know you're available, you're out there, but it's a much softer sell. And you're making it known that, yes, you're here. And when you're ready to buy, come talk to us.
Yeah, you mentioned being an expert in your field. It's so important to do that. And but the outbound and inbound, one of the important things that I know that we're going to talk about today, especially in these changing times, is that you just can't focus on one method of doing things. That you're going to have to try other things, and just like we talk about all the time, try something, take a look and see how it goes, adjust as you have to adjust, and then try something new and keep that process going.
Absolutely. That's where, you have to evaluate what you're doing. You don't keep throwing good money after bad if your marketing plan isn't working. And even when it does work, you still need to evaluate how well it's working. I spoke to a salesperson last week, and he told me to get enough appointments to fill his calendar, he has to make 70 cold calls every day. And when I asked him why that was all he was doing, he's like, well, other methods of marketing don't work. Well, did you try them? No, we didn't try them. We know they don't work. Well, that's simply not the case. If you're not trying them, you don't know they don't work. This was an older gentleman, and I was talking to him about how he could use social media, and he doesn't use it at all. And I pointed out to him, now, wouldn't your cold calls be easier if the people you were calling already knew about your company and its benefits? And he had to think about that. And that's the proper way to use inbound marketing. It's about getting the word out about benefits, not selling to people, but letting people know what you offer, and doing it preferably in an informational way where you're sharing articles, you're sharing blog posts, podcasts, but it's about showing your expertise and showing that this is the benefit that you can offer when they're ready to look for it. So you don't, it's not that all marketing is different. You need to combine methods. You need to use some inbound, some outbound. Email marketing, for example. None of these things work completely in a vacuum. And when you put together a marketing plan, it's important to build them one on top of the other to build those benefits.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of this is in the approach, but it all starts with knowing your customer, really stepping inside your customer's head. And what you have to answer the question is the question that every customer has, and that's what's in it for me. So you talked about benefits, that's what's in it for them, but you have to know where they are. I mean, are they going to be mostly on social media? Are they most likely to be reached through other ways like broadcasting and advertising? But you have to really step inside them, and if they're in several different areas, you have to come up with approaches for all that. But it comes to, again, the benefits, putting something together, and again, you have to satisfy a need, you have to ease their pain in one way or another, you have to make them feel comfortable. That's really what your business is solving those problems. It's not pushing widgets.
Right. It's all about solving your clients' problems. And marketing has changed considerably, definitely over the last 20 or 30 years, but even in the last few years. Marketing used to be about getting your message to the customer or to your potential customer. Now it's much more interactive. Yes, you still want to get your message to the customer, but you also want to be there to listen to the customer, to hear what their needs are and how you can solve their problems. And that's where inbound marketing comes in, where outbound is traditionally about getting the message to the customer. Inbound is about having customers come to you, having them ask questions, and being there to answer them. Now, when somebody comes to you with a question, that's not necessarily a signal for you to start a sales process. And there is a difference between marketing and sales. Sales is about getting the customer to sign on the dotted line and purchase a product or service. Marketing is more informational. It's about providing information to the potential client. Ideally, marketing will lead to the sales process, but it's not the same process.
Yeah, and we talk about basic human nature. We talk about this all the time, whether it's networking or just relationships. But people like dealing with people that they know, they like, and they trust. Listening is a big way of doing things. And one of our favorite books is How to Win Friends and Influence People. And that word influence is absolutely huge, because by asking your potential customer a question, or your prospect a question, and then getting them, maybe through a series of questions, just asking them to really talk themselves into things, is a way of influencing people by making things their idea, and making them realize, just by asking you questions and you giving them the right answer and prodding them along without trying to sell them, of just figuring things out for themselves. And once they figure things out for themselves, they're going to have a whole lot of confidence in buying from you or whatever, because that's what people like to do. Obviously, they like to feel confident in themselves and that they're making the right decision. So if you can lead them into that, that's a great tool to have. So figuring out how to do that with your client is very, very important. Knowing that your clients, even though they're looking for the same thing, are different types of people and have to be dealt with in different ways. So that's one of the challenges and also one of the fun things in doing what you're doing.
Absolutely. People buy on their own schedule. They don't buy when you want them to buy. They buy when they need the product or service or they're moved to buy. The idea with marketing is to show them the door and let them know that that door is open when they're ready to make that decision. That door will lead to your sales process. The marketing is everything before that. So you want them to be familiar with you, and familiarity is key. Let's face it. Does Coca Cola really need to advertise as much as they do? Does McDonald's need to advertise as much as they do? Both of these companies, I don't think there's anybody in the country, possibly the world, that hasn't heard of these companies. They know what Coca Cola is, they know what McDonald's is. But those companies want to be top of mind when you start thinking, you know what, I want to grab a burger. Oh, I want to grab a drink. Even though people are already familiar with them, it's important to these companies to stay top of mind. And that's a big part of the marketing message. And of course, these are Fortune 500 companies. They do it through broadcasting, they do it through print, they do it through social media, they do it through billboards. They use a blanket approach. Now, most small businesses cannot afford a blanket approach. And quite frankly, it wouldn't do them as much good as it does these large companies. So you need to know where your clients are. Are they looking on social media? Where on social media? Are they reading specific magazines? While most businesses no longer feel a yellow pages ad is worth their money, if you're targeting an an older audience with a service like carpentry, a plumber, an electrician, these businesses still do very well advertising in the yellow pages because their audience is there. Now, most of us want to be seen in search engines because, for the most part, Google, Bing, Yahoo, these have replaced the yellow pages. But you need to know where your customer is, and you should research it. You shouldn't just make an assumption.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the easiest things that you can do is use those tools such as Google and just Google your business, the types of things that you do to see what shows up there, because you know that if your clients are going that way, you have to basically take a look at who's doing well, get ideas from everybody, and it's no problem if you copy some of the things that other people are using and put them into your own words. But we talked about Coca-Cola and we talked about McDonald's. I mean, those are food things, but a lot of people offer very, very specialized services. But one of the things that people have going for them is the fact that people do use the internet to look everything up. So that is really the new directory for everything. And the more exposure that you can get there, but having a very, very credible statement in there so that people are looking for more information. I mean, obviously, what you want to do is spur them into action. So you have to come up with your message, what your value added is. You have to give them ways to respond very, very easily to you and make them want to do it and put it in the right place.
Absolutely. And Chip, you hit upon something that really needs to be reiterated because most small businesses, when they put out advertising marketing messages, the most common mistake that they make is they forget to put in a call to action. That call to action is important. If you want somebody to click to your website, to give you a call, You need to have that call to action somewhere in your message. It doesn't have to be very salesy. It can simply be, if you'd like more information, call and your number. Click here to make an appointment. But you need to have that call to action because you want to tell your potential clients, if you want more, if you liked what you saw here and you want more, this is what you need to do.
Yeah, and talking about experimenting with approaches too, I mean, that is a place where you can put in a little incentive for people to contact you. You know, it could be like a free sample of this or that. But the bottom line is, this is where you can get creative and test things and see how they work. And if you're constantly coming up with new, again, mild, not salesy type ways to get people to click on something and look for more information, that should be a big part of your marketing strategy, because the more creative and effective you are with that, what it's all about is getting people to click through and contact you. That's what your purpose is.
Right, and that's why most email marketing programs like Constant Contact, Mailchimp, when you're putting together an email, most of these services offer what they call A/B testing. And what that is you're actually creating two separate messages, sending them to your audience so you can see which works better. Marketing is not just throwing things against the wall. You need to keep track of what you're doing, what's working. Then target that. Oh, this email worked better than that email. Okay, let's figure out what the differences were and why that worked better. Then take that to the next level. Does this work better or does that work better? It's actually essentially using the scientific method. You come up with a theory, you perform an experiment, you view your results. When you take those results, that evaluates what you did, and then you make a new theory based on those results. And you try again, and you fine tune your message this way until you hit on the locations, the message, all of the different aspects of your marketing plan so that they meet the need that you have.
Yeah, going back to one of our old time books, The E-Myth Revisited, it's the old cycle of innovation, quantification, and orchestration. Innovation is the idea, quantification is trying it out and looking at it and seeing how you're doing with it, and then orchestration is putting that in there into effect. But it's a constant process because things are constantly changing and you have to stay ahead of the curve for sure. So it's really, really important to keep that circle going and coming up with new ideas instead of just resting on your laurels and saying, okay, this works, we're just going to keep this going. And then 6 months from now, what happened to my business?
Exactly. And something that's very important, especially now, as things change so quickly, is that when you put together a plan and you're evaluating how each of your marketing methods are working, you need to stick to that plan and stick to the evidence that you're seeing. Don't simply jump at the new shiny object. For example, if you have a marketing plan that includes Facebook and LinkedIn, keep following through on those plans. The new social media, phenomenon is TikTok. But just because it's a new phenomenon doesn't mean your clients are there. It doesn't mean that, you need to shift your marketing over to the new thing. No, follow the results, see what's going on. Again, there are, as I said before, there are businesses that still, despite all the new social media, all the technological advances, they can find their audience in the yellow pages. So you need to be able to say, okay, I did this experiment, these are the results, and keep following through. Don't be distracted by shiny objects.
Yeah, and it's very important. I mean, there's a lot of different social avenues out there for you to use. And the good news about that, as opposed to Coca-Cola and McDonald's spending millions of dollars a year for their ads and so on and so forth, putting together a good social media program and using that is a whole lot less expensive. And it's probably not a bad idea to get an expert involved to help you out doing that, to manage the program for you. But if that's done right, there are a lot of people out there that have grown huge businesses just by leveraging it through there from a simple idea. So opportunity knocks very much there by using this properly.
Absolutely. Social media gives you, and actually, I should rephrase that because it's not just social media, it's advertising on the search engines like Google, Bing, Yahoo, advertising on various websites through Google AdWords or DoubleClick, things like this. These digital tools give you the advantage that you can hit a very specific target market. You can target by interest, you can target by geography, you can target by people who have clicked on your competitor's Facebook page. So these let you target very tightly and hit your target market with a considerably smaller budget. And this is actually being adopted by video advertising. You can do this through YouTube now. I just saw a presentation. Hulu has a self serve option for advertisers that you can sign up for this dashboard and target who you want to see your video ad. So there's a lot of ways you can appear much bigger than you are by targeting well. And I always say, this is about multiple steps. Say there's a specific company that you want to get into, you want to sell to this company. Well, a great way to do this is to target on LinkedIn people that work at that company. So then all of a sudden, people in that company are aware of you. They've suddenly started seeing your ads. So when a direct mail piece hits their desk or you call them, it's not exactly a cold call anymore because they already know who you are.
Yeah, and taking that to the next step, it kind of leads back to the good old person to person networking. Because the bottom line is, number one, you have to develop a credible business and you have to get a great reputation out there. But once you do, if you have a network of these days strategic partners where you actually can get together and refer people to each other, the more you formalize your relationships, that's so important as far as moving ahead. So if you are targeting that company, I mean, one of the best things you can do through your network is to say, hey, I'm looking to reach this person at this company, which, by the way, if you're doing a networking commercial or networking meeting, the more specific you are saying, I'm looking to meet this person at this company, the more specific people will think about you. But if you put that out there, the likelihood of somebody knowing somebody there or connecting the dots 6 degrees of separation is right there. But developing a credible business with a really, really good network of strategic partners that help to promote you is really, really important in knocking down those doors, because no matter how good a program is as far as pushing things out on the internet, this and that, whatever, if you can go in with a positive reputation up front because somebody referred you, that knocks down a whole lot of doors up front.
Right. And you want to be able to make those connections easily. So there are networking events through chambers, through networking organizations, through trade organizations. If you are looking to sell to a specific industry, join their trade organization or association, attend some meetings, get to know people. The more people you know, the more likely you are to have somebody that can connect you to the person you're looking for.
Yeah, and a
And
lot
that
of, if you're targeting some of these people, I've done a lot of work for DOT, disadvantaged business enterprises. They want to do construction projects for contractors because 10% of the contract work has to be done by them. One of the things that I recommend, which you just brought up on, is that a lot of these organizations and associations for contractors actually allow people who are vendors into that in what are called associated networks, where they can get an associated membership and attend meetings or events that way. So if you can go there, if there are organizations or associations for your target markets out there and you are able to get into those somehow, that's a great thing to look into.
Right. And I mean, you can network certainly in person where allowed now, but there are so many events being held via Zoom. So you can attend events from wherever. There's also a lot going on in LinkedIn groups and Facebook groups. Join these groups, have conversations with people. Again, this is not about selling, this is about creating your reputation so that people know who you are. And when you start doing that, one thing that is incredibly key, do not use jargon. You may think everybody knows what you're talking about, but if you're meeting people for the first time, make your message as simple as possible. You want them to understand and not have to think about what you're trying to say.
Yeah. Again, they're wearing that little name tag that doesn't have their name on it. It says, "What's in it for me?" So you have to talk very simplistic to them, how you're going to solve their problem. And if you start hitting them with techno speak, their eyes are going to gloss over and they're going to turn away. You brought up Zoom networking meetings. When we first started doing these a few months ago, when things hit, saying, "Wow, personal is gone right now." However, seeing faces on Zoom and getting together, one of the most fun parts of networking meetings, if they have these, is the pre meeting where everybody's talking to each other about different things and you're getting to know each other. And whereas in physical networking meetings, your purpose is to walk out with appointments to meet people afterwards to get to know them, you're actually getting to know people now when you have 20, 30 faces on a screen every single week when you're going to these things. And even though you can't see them physically, I found that this is a really, really great way to come together in a lot of fun ways that you aren't able to do when you're there in physical groups, because you can't talk to everybody all at once like you can on the screen. So I highly recommend, there's a lot of chambers of commerce. You and I belong to a really great one in West Hartford that averages 30 people or more every single week at these. And we have some of the most fun conversations every week for 15 minutes before we even start the meeting. And the group's very, very tight knit because they're getting to know each other outside the box that way before we do our commercials. So I highly recommend leveraging Zoom or however people are doing their networking meetings right now, because those are great places to meet people and get in quicker than you normally would be able to do when you're attending physical networking meetings.
Right. And still, the idea of these larger meetings is you want to connect with these folks for a one-to-one meeting. My goal when I go to a networking event is not walk out anymore, but to sign off of the Zoom meeting having made some contacts that we've made appointments to get together through Zoom one on one to get to know each other better. This way, I get to know what they're looking for, what their businesses are. And if I can connect them to the people they're trying to get to, it's that much easier once I get to know them.
Yeah.
So we're coming up on the end of our time. What do you think the big takeaway from today is?
Well, obviously, you have to have a service or a product that solves problems or makes people feel comfortable. But what you need to do is you need to come up with a plan. You need to try a few different ways, have a very, very concise message, a way for people to respond or reach out to you, and just keep innovating and using things, because obviously there's a lot of opportunities out there that aren't that expensive for you to make this work if you really, really go at it in an organized way. The sky's the limit with what you can accomplish.
Absolutely. I think for me, the big takeaway is simplify your message, make sure you've got a call to action, and make sure that message is going out where your potential clients are. You put those three elements together, and you can make the noise you need to get people to come to your business. And again, remember, it's not if you build it, they will come. You have to let people know you're out there. And now more than ever, it's important to let people know you're still out there and you're still doing business. You've been listening to the Success Showcase. You can catch us every week at xvadio.com/podcasts. You can also find us on the Apple Podcasts store, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, and wherever you find podcasts. Remember, make this your best week ever and make next week even better. See you then.